Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Laura for those of you that do not know, and today I'm so excited about this video. As you can tell from the title, we are going to be doing romance books based on your sun sign. And so I want to make it very clear that one, I'm not like a professional with astrology. I don't know everything there is to know. In fact, I probably could know a lot more, you know what I mean? Like, I am not an expert in any way. But I do find astrology to be really fun. I love researching about the different signs, and I think it's fascinating. I did a video exactly like this one a few years back, but I talked about young adult books. So today we're going to be talking about romance books in specific. I'm going to be giving a romance book recommendation for every single sun sign. So we're not delving into like your big three. We're not delving into anything beyond the sun sign. I know that the sun sign is not your only sign or only thing that makes up your astrological chart. Well aware. So that's all I have to say about that. That's my little disclaimer for the video, just so you guys know I'm not an expert at all. This is just like my ideas on all of the signs and what I think. So I'm excited to get into the video. I also want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, which is HelloFresh, but more about them later. So let's get started with the first sign, which is Aries. When I think of Aries, I immediately think of extremely passionate and courageous people, but also people that are maybe a little bit aggressive or have a little bit of an impulse problem. So the first book that came to me for Aries is My Darling Arrow by Saffron Kent. This is about a girl who goes to a high school for troubled teens. She has a lot of issues going on, but her biggest one is that she has a humongous crush on her sister's boyfriend, who also happens to be the son of the principal at this high school, who is also her guardian. So at a young age, she was brought into this home, her and her sister, to live with this woman, and she had a son. The son and her older sister immediately got together and started dating, and she was always jealous and always wanted him. And so this story kind of follows her year at this new school, how it goes, how her relationship with this boy progresses, who's her sister's boyfriend. It's super, super crazy, but I absolutely love this one. Saffron Kent writes such phenomenal romance books. They're just so enticing. You cannot put them down. But I just thought that the main character in this really reminded me of an Aries, so that's why I picked it for Aries. But I think anyone would really like this book if you love kind of crazy, impulsive main characters. Like, I love a girl that's not just like the typical good girl in a romance story. I love when there's a little more of an oomph behind the character, and that's definitely what I felt for this one. So that's my recommendation for Aries. Next up on my list is Taurus. And now when I think of a Taurus, I think of someone who is really practical, really patient, just kind of level-headed and put together. But it can also kind of make for them to be a little bit uncompromising. It makes them a little bit stuck in their ways or stubborn. And so the book that I thought of for this one is Royally Screwed by Emma Chase. This is a book that I absolutely love, about a girl who's from New York and works in a coffee shop with her father. One day, the prince of this random country comes into her coffee shop and immediately falls head over heels in love with her. And he wants to bring her to his home country. He wants to make her his, but he's the prince and he can't just be dating some random from America. He's set to be king one day. He has to marry somebody from his country, or somebody that's at least royalty, and she's neither. And so it kind of creates this really big problem within their relationship, and it follows that throughout the book. So I really love this one. If you love like the royal trope, I think you'll really like it. I am just like really into the royalty trope in romance books. I just think they're always so fun. But I think that the character's predicament in this story really reminds me of a Taurus, kind of how the relationship evolves, but there's certain setbacks that they kind of have to keep coming back towards. It really reminds me of like how a Taurus would operate and think in these situations. The main girl especially just gives me Taurus vibes. So really, really love this one. I think it's something that everybody would enjoy. It's super fast-paced, really great book. Next up on my list is Gemini, which is one of those signs that I feel like people either love or hate. I personally love Geminis. One of my best friends is a Gemini. When I think of the sign, I immediately think of people who like to be adventurous and try new things, and they're usually pretty good learners. And you know what, speaking of trying new things and becoming adaptable to new experiences that you've never done before, I do want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, which is HelloFresh, the #1 meal delivery kit in America. And there is absolutely a reason for that, because with HelloFresh, you can choose from their unique meal plans, such as vegetarian, pescatarian, or calorie smart, and they send you a box with everything pre-measured and ready to go. Super easy, fun, and affordable. I think today we're gonna do the creamy lemon spinach ricotta ravioli. This sounds amazing. First things first, voila. Every recipe is packed with high quality produce that's sourced directly from farmers, and they also send you step-by-step instructions, so it's almost impossible to mess up the recipes. For me personally, having everything already portioned out for me and already done is just so convenient. I especially love the 2-serving plan for just being one person who doesn't cook for anybody but herself. Cooking for just 1 or 2 people is actually really hard. You have to end up buying a lot more than what you really need for the meal, so to have the ingredients for just the 2 servings, it saves you so much money to just have them do it for you instead of having to go to the store and buying big bulk items of things that you'll never use up for just being a person or a couple. I also love how HelloFresh really cuts out all of the stressful meal planning and extensive prepping. You can enjoy these meals in like 20 to 30 minutes. It looks like we've got some sous chefs up in the kitchen. Ashley, hello. I again really love how inclusive all of HelloFresh's plans are. They have the vegetarian, the pescatarian, the calorie smart, and they also have different size plans depending on the size of your family. I've been vegetarian for almost 9 years, and even so, I still sometimes struggle to come up with fun meal ideas. But with HelloFresh, they just do the work for you and then you just get to make it yourself. I love the cooking aspect. I love that it's all pre-portioned, ready to go, and I can just make it. I don't have to put any thought into it. But my favorite part is definitely getting to see the new recipes that they rotate through every week and getting to see what the new things I'll be able to try are. And that's just another part of it that I love. You get to find new recipes that you literally would have never found otherwise. Okay, everybody, the time is here. My dish is complete. Look at that. I mean, I eat ravioli all the time, but like to put together a sauce and to really like do the full thing is just really special, and that didn't even take that long. That's what it looks like. Oh my god. It's like creamy, and you get like the tomatoey bit, and like the lemon adds just a little bit of citrus. I literally want to eat this every day. Maybe I will eat this every day. I'm literally obsessed with this. It's so good, guys. Like, HelloFresh just makes it easy to eat healthy meals that are easy to put together, quick to put together, and like genuinely so good. Like, oh my god. The good news for you guys is that HelloFresh gave me a coupon code for you guys to use so that you can try out amazing meals like this one. The code is LovellyLikeLaura14, so you can get 14 free meals across your 5 boxes that you will get using my coupon. I'm being so serious when I say like try it. Even if you're somebody that has never really thought about meal kits and thought that it was like something worth investing in, I promise you after eating this, like it's worth investing in. I literally tweeted the other day and I was like, I'm really stressed out about the fact that I have to think about what I want to eat for dinner for the rest of my life. But now HelloFresh can just think of it for me, and I just feel really good about that. So I hope you guys will check out my coupon code LovellyLikeLaura14 for 14 free meals. That's like a really good deal. I really want to know what you guys think about HelloFresh. I want you to try it for yourself, and I just know you guys are gonna love it. I'm gonna finish this plate, maybe even the other one too. But for now, back to your normal scheduled programming. Thanks, previous Laura. So what I was saying before about Geminis is that they can be very curious people that love to try new things and get involved with new projects, but I find that they can also be kind of indecisive and maybe not 100% know what they want all of the time. So the book that I chose for this is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I thought this was kind of a random pick, but the more I think about it, the more that I think it actually fits pretty well. This is a book about a girl who has a best friend and a boyfriend, and on her birthday they end up hooking up, and she finds out that her boyfriend's been cheating on her with her best friend this whole time. And of course her best friend was also her roommate, so she's kind of out of a whole living situation, except there's this one guy named Ridge who lives at her apartment complex who she constantly sees playing guitar on the balcony across from hers. One day they end up exchanging numbers from across the balconies, and he's the only person that she can really think to text, so she ends up going to his house and staying with him. And so the story kind of progresses from there. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but there's a lot of things that happen with these two characters' relationship that are just very reminiscent of a Gemini, and kind of how a Gemini would maybe react to the certain situations that get thrown at this main character, even beginning with, you know, her boyfriend cheating on her with her best friend all the way through the end of the story. And just, this is one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. I think it's severely underrated. People don't talk about it nearly enough, but when I think of Gemini, I think this is actually a pretty good fit. Next on my list is Cancer. When I think of a Cancer, I think of somebody who's like super loyal and just tenacious in everything that they do, but they can also be a little bit shady sometimes. I find that Cancers can often be kind of negative or even manipulative if you let them be. So there's a little bit of a like double-edged sword situation with a Cancer. I feel like you have to really watch your back with them. They're either like your best friend or your worst enemy. I don't know if that's just me. But for Cancer, I decided on Little Lies by H. Hunting, or Helena Hunting. That's her kind of like other pseudonym name. This book follows a girl who, because of a tragic event that happens when she is a child, she lives a very sheltered, quiet life where she very much keeps to herself, hangs out with her family, doesn't do a lot of things, but she decides that she wants to go away for college and live with her older brothers who go to this university that is out far away from her home. And of course, here at this university, there's also this boy who is her brother's best friend, who she grew up with, who was always super protective of her, and just they always had this kind of bond that nobody could understand. But he ended up moving away when he was in high school, and so they kind of lost contact. When she ends up ultimately going to this college, he's there and he's super broody and he's super rude towards her, and it's kind of like this weird enemies to lovers, even though they were previously like really close. And she doesn't really understand why he's treating her that way. She doesn't understand what she did, but she's obviously set out to understand what's going on and how she can kind of fix it, because it's very odd that he's being so cold towards her. She doesn't understand what she did, but the story kind of goes from there with an enemies to lovers arc, and it's just so fantastic. I really, really love this book. I love like an enemies to lovers college book. I'm just a sucker for them. So this is one of my favorites, but the male character in this book definitely gives off Cancer energy to me. He's super loyal to a point of almost being like too loyal, but he can also be kind of rude or manipulative, especially when he doesn't understand the full picture of what happened to him and this girl's relationship. And it causes him to be a little bit dark and to be a little bit mean. So I really like to see how that is explored over this book and their relationship. It's just so fantastic. I'm so obsessed with this one. I really want all of you to check it out. It's one of my favorites, but definitely gives off Cancer vibes. Next up is Leo, which I feel like everybody immediately thinks of Leos as being like super self-centered and obsessed with themselves, which I think it's a little bit true. I'm a Leo moon and I'm a little bit obsessed with myself, but I think that they also get a bad rep for just having that really self-centered energy when they're also really kind individuals. I find that they're actually extremely warm-hearted and generous people. Like whenever you have a Leo close to you who's loyal to you, that's like the best loyalty you could get. So I find that Leos are actually really complex in that way, and people think that they're just like self-centered people obsessed with themselves, which a little bit, but there's more to it. And so for Leo, I decided on The Play by Elle Kennedy. This is a part of her Briar You series, but you can read it as a standalone. This book follows a guy who is a hockey player and a girl who is a classmate of his. The guy character in this book needs to focus on hockey and on his academics, so he's like, I can't hook up with girls this year, I need to stay celibate. And then this girl has a boyfriend and becomes friends with him, and they're like doing really well in this. Like he's staying celibate, they're studying together, they're both really into their schoolwork, and then her and her boyfriend break up. And so now she's kind of like, I want to be with him, but he's being celibate and he doesn't want me. And I just feel like both characters in this book give off major Leo energy, where they're both like, no, like it's my way or it's my way, and they both want what they can't have, kind of. And it's just like really Leo vibes to me. But I love this book. It's one of my favorites in the Briar You series. I feel like it's kind of underrated, but I love the characters in this. The energy in this book just gives off a lot of Leo. So I hope you guys recognize that too when you read it. Next up we have Virgos. Now when I think of a Virgo, I think of like really analytical, practical people, but they're also a little bit self-critical at times and very worrisome individuals. That's kind of how I see them as a whole. The book that I ended up choosing for Virgo is called Dirty Letters by Vi Keelan. This is a book about two people who grew up being pen pals. One day the girl stops replying to the guy because she has some personal issues. 8 years later, she ends up finding a letter from this boy and realizes that it's kind of recent. So she decides to reply back. She doesn't expect that he'll reply and start talking to her because she totally ignored him for 8 years. But they sort of rekindle their relationship with being pen pals. But little does this girl know that her pen pal is actually this super famous celebrity. And so the story kind of continues from there. The main character in this book totally reminds me of a Virgo in literally every sense of the word. Like when I was making this list for the video, this is one of the first ones that I was able to nail down. Like, yeah, this is the Virgo book. So if you're a Virgo, definitely read the book. Let me know if you relate to the main character, I feel like you will. But this is a great book. It's one of my all-time favorites, especially by Vi Keelan. I read all of her books, so to say it's one of my favorites is pretty high stakes. So definitely check it out. Let me know what you think. Next up we have Libra, which I think is probably my favorite sign. I don't know, I'm a Libra rising and I have so many Libra friends, and my mom's a Libra, like everybody I know close to me is Libra, so I'm just kind of biased towards them. But I love Libras. When I think of Libras, I think of like extremely gracious, just kind-hearted, fair mind people, but they can also be a little bit self-wallowy and kind of like avoiding confrontation. They don't really like all that kind of stuff. So there was a book that immediately came to mind for Libra for me, and that is Teacher by Fiona Cole. This is a part of a larger series, but this book follows a girl who has a lot of trauma from when she was kidnapped when she was younger, and it caused her to have a lot of issues with intimacy with others. And there's a male character in this series who is very sympathetic to her past, and he wants to help her, and so he kind of offers up like, hey, let me help you with your intimacy problems. I can help you to, you know, get back to where you were before this happened to you, this horrible thing happened to you, and kind of make you so you're not experiencing all of this trauma when any relationship in your life leads to something intimate. So they kind of pair together. He agrees to help her with this, and they kind of form this bond because of it. I really love this book. I thought it was such a fascinating read. It's actually one of my favorites in this series. It's the Voyeur series. But I absolutely love the characters in this one. The main girl really reminds me of a Libra, the way that she reacts to certain things in the story, and the way that she's also just very closed off because of her past reminds me of a Libra. So really highly recommend this one. You can totally read it as a standalone. It's one of my favorites. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Next up on the list we have Scorpios, which I believe Scorpios are extremely brave, loyal, super passionate people, but they can also have a darker side where they're maybe a little bit manipulative or secretive, and you never really know what you're gonna get. But if you know a Scorpio and you have one that's loyal to you, you know that they like have your back no matter what. For Scorpio, I decided on going with No Tomorrow by Carrie Ann Cole. This book is so intense. It's one of the most intense, crazy romance stories that I've ever read, and when I thought of Scorpio, I immediately thought that this had to be the book for Scorpio because of just the nature of the story. It's about a girl who meets this boy when she is younger who is homeless, and she wants to do anything in her power to help him, and she does. She gets him a place to stay, all that. But this story is much more than that. It takes place over years and years and years past him just being homeless, and even into him becoming a famous musician. And so the story progresses. It's so crazy, wild, intense, and it's just really a lot. It's heavy. It's very heavy. And when I think of Scorpio, I think of nothing but heavy. So I thought this would be the perfect pick for Scorpio. So highly recommend it. It is a super intense, dark read. However, I will have trigger warnings in my description box. But if you can take it, I think you'll really enjoy the story. Next up, we have Sagittarius, which is my sun sign. So I was very particular about what I would pick for this one. But when I think of Sagittarius, or when I think of myself even, I think of extremely optimistic people who just have a super big adventurous side and always want to do new things, try new things. They're very honest people, but they can also bite off a little more than they can chew at times. They can be a little bit undiplomatic or too honest with their words, which is something I run into quite a lot. But the story that I chose for Sagittarius is My Favorite Souvenir by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. This is a story about a girl who is staying at this hotel and she has to check out, but there's this insane storm that's caused the hotel to be like extremely overbooked, all of the travel to be canceled, and when she overhears this guy pretending to be a guest who hasn't showed up for his reservation, she immediately jumps on it and she's like, yeah, I'm his sister, like I'm with him, and they end up stealing this person's reservation and staying the night at this hotel. And from there they just end up going on this like insane road trip of sorts and just going to all these different places, and their relationship kind of goes from there. So like I said with Sagittarius, they're super adventurous and crazy. Like nobody but a Sagittarius would probably do that. So immediately that's the sign that I thought of for the story. It's super wild and crazy. They go on a lot of adventures together. But obviously something has to happen at the end of this, and the dust kind of settles after all of these trips, and they have to see what this relationship really is all about. And so highly recommend this one. Again, Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward are two of my favorite authors, and this is a great one by them. It's super fun, fast-paced, and very much Sag. So definitely definitely recommend that to my Sag people. Next on my list is Capricorn. Now, when I think of Capricorns, I think of extremely level-headed people who kind of have it all put together, or at least seemingly so, but that can also kind of lead to them being a bit like know-it-all-y or condescending at times. The book that I went for this one is Storm by Carrie Ann Cole, so another Carrie Ann Cole pick. This is a different series that she has that is absolutely phenomenal. This book follows a girl who gets trapped in a storm with this rock star guy. She has no clue that he's a rock star at the time, but they end up spending a few nights in his pickup truck in this winter blizzard, and when she gets out of it, she realizes that he's this big celebrity and she had no idea. So this one has the stuck together trope, which I'm absolutely obsessed with, but also like the fame trope, and this main girl really reminds me of a Capricorn. Like all of the things that I said that kind of make me think of Capricorn are her. She's very much like, this is my life, I have it all set up, I know exactly what I'm gonna do, but then this guy kind of crashes into her life and is like, actually no you don't. And it's really fun to see play out. I absolutely love these two characters and the relationship that forms between them. It's just so fantastic. I cannot recommend this book more. It's literally one of my favorites. Next on my list is Aquarius, and Aquarius is actually another sign that I really love. I find that they're extremely original people who kind of walk to the beat of their own drum, but it can also get them in a little bit of trouble sometimes. I feel like they're often like uncompromising or even like aloof a little bit, kind of almost too much doing their own thing where they're like not in check with reality. So the book that I thought of for this one is The Unrequited by Saffron Kent. So another read by Saffron Kent. This book, literally the main girl is an Aquarius. Like you can't tell me that she's not. Read this book and you have to tell me if she's an Aquarius, because this is one that I felt like the absolute strongest. This is about a girl who falls for her poetry professor, and she becomes kind of like obsessed with him, like kind of on a stalkerish level. It's actually pretty insane. So the story kind of progresses from that point, but this main girl, she just gives me the most intense Aquarius vibes. I knew that I had to choose this book for Aquarius for that reason. So definitely if you've read it, let me know, or if you're an Aquarius, let me know. It's one of my favorites from Saffron Kent, and I've read all of her books, so definitely check this one out. Obviously, we only have one sign left, and that is Pisces. When I think of Pisces, I definitely associate them with being like the most emotional or the saddest sign, but I also think that they can kind of also have a bit of a victim complex at times, like, oh, like woe is me, I'm so sad, feel bad for me. But the book that I thought of for this one is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I felt like this was the perfect pick for Pisces because it's one of the absolute saddest books that I've read in a hot second. It's about a girl and a boy who become lovers at a very young age. They are kind of like childhood boyfriend and girlfriend, and they grow up to be older and still stay together until the boy character in the story has to move back to his home country with his family. He moves away, they make plans to stay in contact and to stay together, but the girl kind of ghosts him upon his leave. So when like a year passes and he comes back, she's like really shocked because she didn't think she would ever see him again. He's like a totally different person, just a complete change since the last time she saw him. He's super cold towards her, super rude, doesn't understand why she stopped talking to him, and so the story kind of goes from there. There's so much more to the story beyond that synopsis, but I think that's the best synopsis I can give without giving away the larger picture or spoiling anything. But this book just gives really Pisces vibes. I'm not sure if the characters necessarily make me think of a Pisces, but the story as a whole, the progression of it, just kind of radiates Pisces energy, so that's why I chose it for this book rec. Okay guys, so those are my romance book recommendations based off of your sun sign. I need to know if you read the book that I chose for your sun sign, if you liked it or if you hated it, or if you're gonna read it now. If you haven't, I want to hear all of your thoughts on my picks. Do you think that I did your sign justice? Let me know in a comment down below. I again want to say a humongous thank you to today's sponsor, HelloFresh, and if you've not yet used the link in my description with the code LOVETHELIKELARA14 for 14 free meals amongst 5 boxes, definitely go check out that offer. It's an extremely good offer, and I want you guys to all test out the service, so let me know if you try that. Other than that though, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in a comment down below if you did. If you want to see more content like this one, definitely tell me. If you guys are not yet subscribed, I hope that you will click the button down below, subscribe, stick around for a while. I will be back very soon with my next video, and I will see you then. Bye! With the lemon wedge, I feel like I'm eating at a restaurant. It's so fancy.